You guys all hear me? Is that too loud? Too soft? Okay, we're good. Welcome to the second Ogden Valley Incorporation public hearing hosted by the Lieutenant Governor's Office. And we have LRB Public Finance Advisors who conducted the first feasibility study and later the modified study due to the annexations that occurred in Huntsville. Just some public hearing etiquette, just please be respectful, not about others who are speaking when it's their turn. You'll have the opportunity to make a public comment during the public comment phase. So please don't shout out any questions or comments during someone's presentation or public comment. The agenda will go similar as last time. I'll just give a brief of the incorporation process, kind of how we got here, and what are the next steps in the incorporation process. And then we'll have LRB Public Finance Advisors present the results and conclusions of the modified study that was released in May. We'll go to the public comment phase, and then we will have questions asked by the public directed to LRB Public Finance Advisors. Near the receipts, similar as last time, we placed a sheet of paper with the QR code to the feasibility study, and also a Google form where you can submit questions for LRB, and those will be asked at the end of the public comment. So that question form will be closed once public comment has been completed. Just to give you an overview of how we are at the second public hearing, March 8th this year, the request for a modified feasibility study was filed with the Lieutenant Governor's Office by the Ogden Valley sponsors. March 18th, our office commissioned LRB to conduct the modified feasibility study, and then 45 days later, May 2nd, that study was released by the consulting firm. They found that the proposed Ogden Valley area is financially viable. This allows the incorporation process to proceed with public hearing and later the petition for incorporation. So we are required to hold the second public hearing within 30 days after that modified study was released. Or we will present the results. A map of the area is provided. If you scan that QR code to the feasibility study, on page 6 is the map of the incorporation area. However, we do have copies, physical copies of the map on the table right here. So if you want, feel free to come up and just grab a copy. We only have about 50 copies. Additionally, we do have physical copies of the modified study at our desk right there. There are only 5 copies, so if you can, please look at the one on the website or the QR code. If you really do need a copy, a physical copy, or don't have access to the internet, feel free to grab one at the table up front. Like I said, we'll have the public comment where the public can express their views of the proposed incorporation, either for or against the Ogden Valley Incorporation. And we'll have questions asked by the public directed to the feasibility consulting firm. So the incorporation petition, after this hearing, like Mark said, will trigger the time or the year time where sponsors can gather signatures for the incorporation petition. That petition must be signed by at least 10% of registered voters within 90% of the voting precincts. Has to include signatures from owners of private property that equal 10% of the private land area and include 7% of the private property value within the boundaries of the Ogden Valley proposed incorporation area. And depending on that petition is certified, that can either, or that question, the question of the incorporation will either go on the 2024 election ballot or it will go on the 2025 election ballot. So okay, let's just look at the code section directly. So we talked codes 10-2A-10 subsection 5 says that an individual may not vote in an corporation election unless the individual is a registered voter who resides as defined in section 28, 1, 102, within the boundaries of the proposed municipality. So if you are not a registered voter and not reside within the boundaries of the Ogden Valley Incorporation, you may not vote in the election. If you are not registered to vote, or you do not know if you're registered to vote, please contact the Weaver County Clerk's office. So when or if the petition is filed and is certified by our office, we will reach out to the Weaver County Clerk's office to have them place the question, or a couple of questions on the ballot. One of them is, shall the area described as the list of description of the area be incorporated as the insert the name of the incorporation or the posting of the city? It can either be Ogden Valley, or sponsors can decide to change the name when they officially file that petition. Because Ogden Valley has a population approximately around 7,000 to 8,000 people, this is an incorporation of a city. One of the other questions on the ballot would be, if the above corporation proposal passes, under what form of municipal government shall the name of the proposed city operate? Vote for one. Your options will be 1, 5-member council form, 6-member council form, 5-member council form, mayor form, or 7-member council mayor form. If you want more information about those forms of government, please see Title 10, Chapter 3B of the Utah Municipal Code. Feel free to email me. I'm happy to direct you to the specific code section where they explain the types of those governments and what power and authority they have. So after the election, that will count the votes, depending on how many people voted in favor or against the incorporation will determine the outcome of the election. So the 10-2-8-10 subsection 6 says that if the majority of those who vote in an incorporation election cast votes in favor of incorporation, the area shall incorporate. On the same kind of reasoning, if the majority of voters do not vote or vote in opposition of incorporation, the incorporation will fail and it will be defeated by the voters. Part of this hearing will have a section, like I said a couple of times, the opportunity to submit questions for LRB. You can submit the questions either by visiting the ltgovernor.utah.gov/incorporations directly, scan the QR code on the sheets of papers near you, or if you do not have any access to the internet, we do have note cards in the corner. You can't see the table, but it's in that corner over there with pins. And if you want to write a question, please write that question and place it on the table. Once public comment has been concluded, I will gather the note cards, and that will be part of the question queue for the consultants. Also, the public hearing will end at 8:30. We only have this game reservation until 8:30. So once it hits 8:30, we kind of have to, I have to be out of here just so we can give the custodians time to close up the building. If you have any questions after this hearing, please email me at incorporations@utah.gov, or you can call my main desk line at 801-538-1041. And if you have any questions about the incorporation process, or the incorporator, specifically about Ogden Valley Incorporation, you can call Mark Farron, his number right there, and also his email address. I'll leave that up there for a couple of seconds if anybody will want to write that down. We'll also go back, and if anybody wants to take a picture or write that down, now's the time to do so. And here are the QR codes for the feasibility study and the project submission. And with that, we will turn it over to Logan with the presentation of the modified feasibility study for Ogden Valley. She is in the back. Logan, do you need a microphone? Oh.
I'm going to present from over here, just so I can see everything okay. So like Jordan said, I'm Logan with LRB, and with me is Jason Birdie. I'm not losing magic. I think I'm going to lose it. Perfect. All right, if not a repeat of which we are. Perfect. All right. Thank you all. So as I said, my name is Logan. I'm with LRB here with Jason, and what our presentation will be focusing on is really the difference between the feasibility study and the supplemental. The first in the original and the supplemental study is the boundary. Might need to just check our connection real quick. Sorry, guys.
Test, test.
Hey, hey.
This one works.
All right, let's give this another go. Thank you guys so much for your patience. This happened last time too. I must just see I have that look. I'm not quite sure. But just to continue on, so the first difference that we're going to be discussing is the boundary change due to the Huntsville exclusions. There's also a bit of government lands that we removed from the original feasibility study boundary. So this compares the original, which is the red outline, and the blue is our new boundary. The biggest difference, as you guys can tell, is that there is a bit larger land mass in the original study boundaries. So the area of Pineview is shortened down a little bit just to be compliant with Utah code with the federal land requirements. There's also a large area of land in the northeast section of the map, and that was the WMA land that the state that the state requested that they don't be included, so the new boundary excludes those. And it also excludes those few Huntsville parcels that kicked off this supplemental feasibility study in the first place. So other key changes that we'll be discussing is the population, as I'm sure many of you noted, was updated from the Utah Population Committee. And the assessed value was also adjusted due to those excluded parcels. And there are two key assumptions that I'll be briefly summarizing that change a little bit of our projections relative to expense. So the UPC updated their numbers, which is required once a modified study is put forward. And although the study was, or although the boundary was reduced, the population actually increased from our 2023 estimate of the original study. This is due to the UPC having a bit more accurate data relative to permits and residential growth, where they were able to account for the 2023 number more accurately and thus updating it there. We also projected population and household based on 2010 and 2020 historic redistricting data, and we made sure to replicate the UPC's methodology with determining the census data for the Ogden Valley area. So with population, a couple of variables are changed from the original to this new supplemental study. Primarily property tax, which is calculated with assessed value and new residential growth. So as shown in the previous table, both projected population and housing growth, they actually have the same growth rate at 1.7%. The state sales tax and the class growth fund, those are both based on a population distribution formula from the state. So for a state sales tax, 50% is based on point of sales, 50% is based on population, so it's changed thereafter. And similarly with the class growth fund, 50% is due to weighted mileage, 50% to population, and the remaining revenue line items with garbage, your state limit allotment, and fines and forfeitures, we base those on per capita calculations, so those vary as well. And likewise, we have a couple of the expense changes as well. In scenario one, we do have an additional government expense that we do add, and we do estimate the government office expense based on a square footage per capita calculation, so that's a little higher as well now. And general government services, your public safety, which includes animal control and animal shelter, and law enforcement, and your garbage and weed control expenditures, we all base those off of a per capita calculation. The assessed value, so in the slide above, it shows just a very marginal decrease. This is due to just few residential properties, so the ones that were annexed into Huntsville being removed. The rest of the properties that were removed from our calculations, those were exempt and had no taxable value, so very marginal difference here. And so, as aforementioned, the property tax, since we based it on assessed value and unit growth, it was also changed marginally due to our change in taxable value. So we did change a couple of our assumptions. So the first assumption that we changed were the growth rates that we applied to project expense for the new Ogden Valley area. Beforehand, we applied general inflationary measures between 3 to 5%. We ultimately reviewed the municipal services fund and decided to apply the rates that we're projecting for future years. We decided to make sure that that was reflecting the respective municipal services fund. As the county staff, they reviewed the assumptions relative to the municipal services fund to help guide us decide how much we should be growing expenses. Another assumption that we changed is relative to engineering and planning. Our discussions with county staff indicated that the cost per capita for planning and engineering would possibly or more likely be lower than what a regional planning and engineering efforts are currently being provided. So we really wanted to find some hybrid approach to making sure that we are perpetuating a regional level of service while still making sure that we are addressing the county's comments and going towards more of a local level of service of what's going to be provided engineering and planning wise. So to understand and to provide that, the county provided data to us to show that the time spent towards the upper valley was less than that towards the lower valley. And our previous methodology applied those percentages directly. After review, those were a little too aggressive. So we looked at our communities that we chose, our comparable communities, to get it closer to their general government per capita, and more closely Morgan and Heber to see what their government expense was at. And so 60% was a little bit more towards that in the middle, meaning and balancing those different level of service components that we were trying to address in the first place. So this shows the fiscal impact on the municipal services fund for the county. It is important that we add the caveat that this could be overstated, as it is looking at the lost revenue that is going to Ogden Valley, but it's also not making an adjustment as likely their costs will decrease if Ogden Valley does become incorporated. So it is important that we do make sure that we add the caveat that for, at least for the county impact, that it could be overstated given the model assumptions. And similarly, this shows just the tax impact for the county as a whole, assuming that the proposed incorporation does incorporate. So the next 3 slides review the 3 scenarios that we did. And even though we had a couple changes from the original to the supplemental study, the findings are the same, which is that it's financially feasible in all 3 scenarios. So our first scenario, we include the incorporation costs that are outlined in Utah code. So that includes elections, that includes any sort of those one-time costs in the Utah code. We also have a one-time government building cost of $1.72 million, as well as the road shop acquisition. And this shows that Presentaton County's equivalent rate is sufficient, and revenues exceed expenses by an average of 6.3. And state code directs that it just needs to be above 5%, so that suffices there. Similarly, for scenario 2, we took out the government office, and we only included the road shop acquisition, which gives you a little bit more of a cushion at 8.3%. And finally, if we do not include the government office and road shop, so we're reducing those expenses, our cushion is even larger. And so no additional levy to balance your budget is needed for our model, and you suffice the code requirements. So that is our findings so far.